There's a compound called aldehyde that forms when certain oils are heated more than once. It has no taste, no color. And when it enters the body, it acts directly on the DNA of cells, corrupting the genetic code from the inside out. The pancreas is especially vulnerable to this type of damage because it does not hurt. It does not warn. It sends no signal while the damage is happening. 5 foods that are in your kitchen right now turn into sources of this and other toxic compounds every time you reheat them. And what is most disturbing, one of them is considered a superfood. Before we go any further, let me introduce myself quickly. This is Dr. Kong's Health Tips. If you are not subscribed yet, subscribe now. The content we share here can make a real difference in your health. The pancreas is an organ most people never think about until it is too late. It works in silence, producing digestive enzymes and regulating blood sugar. And that is exactly why it is so dangerous when it gets sick. Pancreatic cancer has a 5-year survival rate below 12%. That number is not alarmism. It is what science documents. And the reason for that lethality is simple. By the time symptoms appear, the damage is already advanced. What few people know is that common household habits repeated daily quietly build that path. Reheating food is one of them. We are not talking about an isolated episode. We are talking about years of accumulated exposure to compounds that inflame, corrupt, and weaken pancreatic cells before any test can detect anything. Have you ever felt heaviness in your abdomen after eating? A fatigue that seems disproportionate to what you ate, a digestion that takes longer than it should. These vague signals are easy to ignore. Most people do ignore them, but they may indicate that the pancreas is under pressure, trying to process an accumulation of compounds it was never designed to handle. The first food on our list is one of the most consumed in the entire world, fried foods. When you fry something in vegetable oil, whether sunflower, corn, or soybean, and then reheat that food, the oil that has already been subjected to high temperatures goes through a second heat cycle. That process releases aldehydes in much greater quantities than during the first cooking. Aldehydes are toxic compounds that cause oxidative stress in cells. They enter the bloodstream, reach the pancreas, and directly interfere with the integrity of cellular DNA. Science proves this. Studies document the relationship between repeated exposure to aldehydes and the increased risk of genotoxic damage, meaning damage to the very genetic code of your cells. The solution here is not to throw the fried food away. It is simple. If you need to reheat it, use a dry oven at around 350 degrees Fahrenheit or an air fryer. These methods restore the texture without subjecting the oil to a new cycle of chemical degradation. The second food will surprise a lot of people. We are talking about leafy greens, spinach, kale, Swiss chard. These vegetables are often called superfoods, and they are when consumed the right way. The problem happens when you cook them, store them in the refrigerator, and reheat them the next day. Leafy greens are rich in nitrates. Nitrates by themselves are not the problem. The problem begins when bacteria present in the already cooked food, convert those nitrates into nitrites. And when you apply heat again to those nitrites, they transform into nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as probable human carcinogens. They are genotoxic, meaning they attack the nucleus of cells directly. The pancreas, which is in constant contact with what you digest, absorbs part of that chemical load. And contrary to what most people think, heat does not destroy nitrosamines, it forms them. So the solution for leafy greens is straightforward. Eat the leftovers cold in salads and wraps in any preparation that does not involve a second heating. The nutritional value stays intact. The risk disappears. And speaking of risks that few people investigate, the third food on the list involves something almost everyone has in the refrigerator the day after dinner. And the danger does not come from a chemical reaction. It comes from something alive. I will get to that right now. The third food is rice. And the risk here works differently from the previous ones. We are not talking about a chemical reaction triggered by heat. We are talking about a bacterium called Bacillus cereus, whose spores survive the initial cooking. That is right. You cook the rice, you kill most organisms, but the spores of Bacillus cereus resist. And when the rice starts to cool slowly, those spores germinate and produce toxins. The most concerning detail, those toxins are heat stable. You reheat the rice, it becomes steaming hot, it looks safe, but the toxins are already there. Heat does not destroy them. These toxins cause intestinal inflammation. And here is something most people never connect, the gut-pancreas axis. Scientific research documents that chronic intestinal inflammation is transmitted directly to the pancreas through lymphatic and blood pathways. The gut and the pancreas communicate, and when the gut is constantly inflamed by food toxins, it sends that inflammatory signal to the pancreas repeatedly, day after day, week after week. The solution for rice is one of the simplest on this list. After cooking, spread the rice in a shallow container and let it cool within 1 hour. Never let it cool slowly inside a covered pot. Refrigerate immediately and consume within 24 hours. If you reheat it, do so only once, making sure the entire portion reaches a high temperature uniformly. Have you ever made any of these mistakes without knowing it? Most people have. And not out of carelessness, but out of lack of information. The fourth food is chicken. And the most common mistake here involves exactly the appliance almost everyone uses to reheat food, the microwave. The microwave does not heat uniformly. It creates what we call cold spots, internal areas of the food where the temperature does not rise enough. In chicken, those cold spots act as incubators. Salmonella, a bacterium frequently present in poorly reheated poultry, survives in those low temperature zones. On the outside, the chicken looks hot. On the inside, in certain spots, the bacteria are alive and active. Salmonella infection is not just an uncomfortable episode of gastroenteritis. Repeated or poorly treated infections generate systemic inflammation that overloads organs like the pancreas. The solution here is to avoid the microwave for chicken whenever possible. The ideal is to eat it cold or reheat it in the oven where heat penetrates more uniformly. If the microwave is the only option, cut the chicken into small, uniform pieces before heating, reducing the chance of cold spots. And now we reach the fifth food, the one that attacks the pancreas through two completely different angles at the same time. We are talking about potatoes, and this is probably the most underestimated of all. When you cook a potato and then reheat it at high temperature, especially in the microwave or in a pan, a compound called acrylamide forms. Acrylamide is classified by the International Agency for Research on Cancer as a probable human carcinogen. It forms when starches at high temperatures undergo a chemical reaction called the Maillard reaction. In the second cooking, the concentration of acrylamide is significantly higher than in the first. More heat, more reaction, more genotoxic compounds circulating in your body. But there is a second angle. The reheated potato loses something extremely valuable called resistant starch. Resistant starch forms when a cooked potato cools down. It acts as a prebiotic fiber, feeding beneficial gut bacteria and helping to control blood sugar levels. When you reheat the potato, that resistant starch breaks down. the glycemic index spikes, and a pancreas that repeatedly has to deal with blood sugar spikes is under constant stress, which increases the risk of chronic inflammation in the organ. The solution for potatoes is elegant. Eat them cold. A potato salad made with yesterday's leftovers preserves the resistant starch, benefits the gut, and generates no acrylamide. Simple as that. Take a breath. This does not mean you need to throw out everything left over from dinner or never eat a reused meal again. It means you need to do it intelligently. The problem was never saving food. The problem was not knowing what happens chemically to each type of food when it goes through a second heat cycle. There's a simple principle that summarizes everything we have covered. Each food has a rule, and when you know the rule, the risk practically disappears. For fried foods, the rule is the reheating method. Never back into hot oil, always a dry oven or air fryer at around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Dry heat redistributes the temperature without further degrading the already compromised oils. The texture comes back, the risk does not. For leafy greens, the rule is temperature. No reheating at all. Leftover spinach, kale, or Swiss chard goes directly into a cold preparation. Salad wrap mixed with other ingredients at room temperature. The nutritional value stays intact. Nitrosamines never get to form. For rice, the rule is time and storage. Cool fast within 1 hour, spread in a shallow container, refrigerate immediately. Consume within 24 hours. Reheat only once, making sure the entire portion reaches a uniformly high temperature. This simple protocol eliminates the window for Bacillus cereus proliferation before toxins are produced. For chicken, the rule is method and format, oven whenever possible. If using the microwave, cut into uniform small pieces and cover during heating to distribute the heat. Never reheat a whole chicken breast in the microwave and assume it is safe because the outside feels hot. The internal cold spots are invisible and dangerous. For potatoes, the rule is the consumption temperature. Cold preserves resistant starch, controls the glycemic index, and generates no acrylamide. Hot for the second time does the opposite on all 3 counts simultaneously. Potato salad is not just a more practical option. It is the smartest option from a metabolic and cellular standpoint. Now, there is something that goes beyond each individual food. It is the habit of cooking large quantities for the entire week and reheating the same container multiple times. Each additional heat cycle multiplies the formation of genotoxic compounds. This is not a linear risk. It is a risk that accumulates exponentially with each reheating. The practical recommendation here is simple. Cook in smaller quantities more frequently, or divide portions before storing so that each part is reheated only once. The pancreas will not warn you while it absorbs that accumulation. It will work in silence, trying to compensate, trying to regulate, trying to filter, until the day it can no longer do so. And medicine documents this clearly. Most pancreatic cancer diagnoses happen at advanced stages, precisely because the organ does not emit pain signals in the early stages. Prevention is not a resource for people who are afraid. It is the only real resource we have against a disease with this level of lethality. This is documented. The science is clear. And most importantly, it is within reach of anyone who knows what they are doing inside their own kitchen. Small habit changes applied consistently have a real cumulative impact on cellular health over the years. It does not need to be perfect. It needs to be conscious, because taking care of your pancreas does not start at the doctor's office. It starts with how you handle last night's leftovers. Which of these 5 foods do you reheat most often? And after all of this, are you going to change any habits? Let us know in the comments. If this content was useful to you, like the video, share it with someone who needs to know this, and subscribe to Dr. Kong's Health Tips. Turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next.